Hi, everyone. I can see people are still joining in, but welcome to our first webinar. So we'll just give it like 2 or 3 more minutes, wait for a couple of people to join in, then we can start our webinar officially. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our first webinar by Stan Media Foundation. And basically, we are a climate change focused foundation based in Kenya, whereby we try to educate the public on various ways in terms of mitigation of climate change effects. And we all are aware of what is happening currently in Kenya with the ongoing floods. And so we thought this would be the best way forward to just disseminate information in terms of what are some of the safety measures that you can take, what could be the possible effects or other causes that led to this, because for a long time, I don't think we've ever seen such a scenario. But yeah, this is going to be a very interactive webinar where you can definitely ask questions, share information on how we can just, help each other to navigate through this situation as a community. I'll let my co-host introduce herself.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Fiona Njeri. I'm based in Kajiado, and I'm also an environmentalist and part of Self-Taught Academy Network. Thank you for honoring our invite to this webinar, and we hope that this can be more of a discussion. Feel free to engage us through the comments. Introduce yourself. Hello. Sorry about that. So kindly introduce yourselves on the comment section. Tell us who you are, your organization, and one fun fact about yourself as we move forward. Thank you so much.
Okay, great. So we will just quickly go through the agenda for today's webinar, and we will introduce our esteemed speakers who are going to share their knowledge and expertise in their fields so that we can just get a better understanding of how to navigate through the situation that we are going through. So the first agenda would be basically how to become a climate change champion, meaning how can you as an individual participate in just being part of the solution in terms of mitigating the effects of the floods that we are going through right now. And not only just for this event of flooding, just in case of future events, and also for you as a person, if you're interested in going into the climate change field, what are some of the career options that you have as well, so that you can just basically be a source to the community in terms of coming up with solutions. And then the second agenda would be the mitigation of extreme weather events. And we're going to have an expert talk about that and what you can do as a citizen to contribute in that. And we are also going to look at some of the safety measures that you should consider while going through the flooding situations and for any unforeseen future circumstances when it comes to extreme weather events. And our speakers today are Zenet, Mr. Paul, Miss Grace, and Miss Beatrice. So I'll let them introduce themselves shortly before we go into the introduction. So Zenet, maybe you can introduce yourself shortly.
Good evening, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, my name is Zenet Tume Mohammed. I'm the founder of Identity 254. It's an organization that focuses on women empowerment. We have a sector of mental health awareness, and we really focus on environmental issues, whether it's trying to plant trees, it's to educate, having barazas, you name it. So yeah, so founder of Identity 254 base that's in South B. We basically deal with the people from Mukuru Fortanyayo and Mukuru Kayaba. So yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, Zenet, and we really appreciate you honoring our invite. And then we will go to Mr. Paul Vance Udoto.
Yeah, good evening to all. I hope you can hear me well.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, my name is Vance Paul Udoto, Group Managing Director for Tenants Become Landlords. That's the acronym you see there, TBL, Go Green. And also Director with Locate IT Limited. TBL Go Green. At TBL Go Green, we focus on tenancy solutions with technologies. So we're looking at how to create a platform where tenants and landlords interact and come up with solutions for challenges and currently lying, but many others. At the same time, utilize technology, hence the Locate IT tag, where we use to create solutions that also support with mitigation. I hope through my presentation, we'll be able to share more. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. And we really appreciate you taking your time to honor our invite and come to share your knowledge, Mr. Paul. So our next speaker is Miss Grace Kimaru. So kindly introduce yourself, Grace. Okay, we can't hear you well. Don't know if it's a network. Can you hear us?
Okay, perhaps
okay. Yes. So as we wait for Grace, maybe Beatrice, you can go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. My name is Beatrice Wambui. Just a correction, I do not work for the Kenya Ministry of Agriculture. However, I do work with Kenya Water Ambassadors as their coordinator. And basically what we do, we create resilience around riparian ecosystem, that is wetlands, rivers, and other water bodies. So basically, we'll be able to talk about how we can be able to create resilience around that as we move along in my presentation. So yeah, thank you, and I'm delighted to be here.
Okay, great. So thank you so much, Beatrice, and also for the clarification. And is Grace back on?
Hello? Hi, I'm here.
Hi, Grace. We can hear you now. Yeah. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Grace Kimaru. I've just joined the meet. Sorry, I'm late. Looking forward to a very interactive session. Thank you.
Okay, great. No worries. So now, we'll just go to our next agenda. So basically, Ms. Zenet will take us through some of the works that she's doing as a climate change champion. We like to call them climate change champions simply because they're doing something in terms of addressing the climate change issues that we're going through, specifically the flooding in Kenya. So she can share more information on what you as a participant you can take part in terms of just helping the situation and making it better for other people who have been affected, or basically what you can do as an individual if you're also affected. So Zenet, up to you.
Hi guys.
Hey.
So yeah, our latest work has been in regards to what's happening right now with the floods. So what's happening right now with the floods? So we've seen how Mukuru has been affected greatly, and most of the people that we work with come from Mukuru. So we saw it fit that Identity 254 is part of the NGOs and CBOs that take part in the disaster management of the floods. And right now we can see them being evacuated by demolitions and all that. And yeah. So the first question was how to offer help during the floods in Kenya. So I feel like as Wananchi, we can help in supporting flood victims alongside organizations like ours by donating essential supplies such as foodstuff, dry foodstuff, blankets, mattresses, clothes, even sufurias and the likes. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
You can hear me? Yeah, such things that people actually need. So far, we've set up a relief center at Goal Kenya. Goal Kenya is situated near Hazina. Hazina's chief place. So when you just reach the chief place, you ask for Goal Kenya. It's the next building. So over there, we're trying to mostly help kids. So what we do is we provide uji in the morning. In the afternoon, we've partnered with the county, so they bring the dish in a county. So they serve them that, and then dinner we cook for them, and then we serve the kids. So we've prioritized the kids, because we saw that as much as we'd love to help everyone else, like priority, we prioritize the kids. If something is left, it's given to the parents. But as per today, we've seen child welfare. They came in today to actually survey the place and to actually take the numbers and to see how they can help the families, to offer family packs of dry foods. So the distribution will be done on Monday, God willing. So yeah. So what can you do when you come to the like if you decide to volunteer at the Goal Kenya? You can help in sorting donation. You can help in food distribution. You can help entertaining the children. Like today, we had some teenagers who came and they're playing musical chairs, and the kids were really excited. Some of them were climbing up to see what's happening, and they had music, and it was so good seeing them just laughing and not being not caught up in whatever's happening right now. You can also spread awareness on the ongoing relief situation, because I feel the more people know about it, the more impact we can have. You can donate in order to financially contribute for purchasing essential items, or even bring donation in kind. So how do we identify which area to support? So what we do, like Identity 254 has partnered with, there's Greener Cities, there's Darul Khair, there's Mukuru Parents, there's Ebenezer, there's the Hope for Change, and we've come up with a one name for Mukuru Environmental Guardians. So what we do, through our networks, we have leaders, we have people who are in Nyumba Kumi, we have residents that they actually live there, we have community groups, we have CHVs who actually help us in identifying that who's actually in need, who's they give us the real statistics and data on in terms of who to help and how to go forward with it. Then we also monitor news reports and social media. Social media has become the new thing. Like most of the things that we get are mostly from social media. We see videos of maybe a certain woman in a certain area that's really affected, and we actually try to go there. Yeah. So importance of helping during flooding in Kenya. So your efforts offer immediate and tangible support to those affected for the disaster. So if where was I? Sorry. Your efforts offer immediate and tangible support to those affected by the disaster. By you giving support, whether it's money, whether it's your time, whether it's your expertise, you can make a difference to all those people that are suffering right now. Because I can tell you for a sure fact, the other day we had a medical camp last weekend. And most of the statistics that we got from the over 300 people that we registered during the medical camp, so many people were being affected. It's mostly pressure and mental health issues. So by being there, whether it's just coming through for them, you can really make a difference. So organizations can reach more families and address a wider range of needs. Disasters are isolating experiences. By volunteering, you show residents of the areas affected that they're not alone. Volunteering allows you to contribute to something bigger than yourself and make a real difference in people's life. Volunteering brings you together with like-minded people who share a desire to help others. So next slide, please. Types of relief offered by relevant authorities and organizations. So I've talked about the partnerships that we have, and we see how important partnerships are, SDG 17. Through the partnerships, we try to distribute the responsibility amongst ourselves. So it becomes even easier for different organizations. The essential supplies that we have there are food, water, mattresses, blankets, and clothes, what I had said before. The medical camp that I talked about, shelter and evacuation. As much as the Goal Kenya is not able to, we're not able to shelter the people that come there. We're able to just host them from morning till evening. Then after they have their dinner, they leave. But what we've done is we're trying to get the correct data, and we're working with the administration, with the chiefs, and we're trying to give them the data so that in terms of evacuation, how they'll be able to give the right people and they have everything that they need. Long-term recovery, right now we're organizing on how we're going to go as soon as the evacuations are done, how we're going to go inside the slum and try to see how we're going to remove the debris. Yeah. So what do What do you do as a volunteer when you notice misappropriation of funds or relief items by a senior manager? I feel like considering this is more of a partnership, I believe that transparency is key. So if, for instance, someone has witnessed something which hasn't happened yet, but if someone has witnessed something, we have to follow protocol and present evidence, in the sense that that person has to report, and it has to be like they have to do an investigation, and once the investigation is done, then we see way forward. Yeah. Next slide. So
Yeah.
How to get involved in humanitarian work for climate change? I feel like, aside from the slides, I feel like humanitarian work is passion. Like, I think most of us want to see change in some sort of way, whereby whether it's social justice, whether it's community empowerment, whether it's trying to have a greener world. So it involves fostering a lifelong commitment to social justice and community empowerment, leading to a lasting positive change. So career benefits, I think by combining academic background with community work, young people can actually do so much. They can be a force for positive change in the face of climate change. So how to start? I feel you can go into development study, there's environmental studies, there's law. There's so many fields that you can get into that actually can help you look at the complexity of poverty, social injustice, economic inequality, and how to actually make a difference in the world. Current initiative. So at Identity 254, we're constantly striving to improve lives of residents of Mukuru Fatanyayo and Mukuru Kayaba. We not only, we participate in environmental programs, but we also try to strive to empower by the women there by giving them vocational training, and we're willing to expand more. So follow us, check out our page, volunteer. We'll be glad to have you. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you so much, Zenet. I think we'll hold the questions to the Q&A section towards the end. But thank you so much. That was a very wonderful presentation and very informative. So we would go to
Welcome, Beatrice.
Yeah, thank you. And then we'll go to our next case speaker, and this is Mr. Vance Paul Udoto. Yeah.
Yeah, good evening once again.
Good evening.
Like I said at the introduction, and for the benefit of those who've joined, Tenants Become Landlords is a platform created to, we have offered the tenants and landlords a platform for interaction. I think what we're trying to make sure here is that a lot of the information that's spread all over can be accessed, and not just accessed as information, but as a way of getting solutions as well. So what I have to I've been challenged to target to go through is how to mitigate floods in Kenya from a developer's perspective. I think most of these things are standard and they are already embedded in laws. And even various bylaws, etc. My presentation is a bit, sorry?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you now clearly.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
So what I'm exposing in the first two slides is just the fact that most of these exist in laws. But the problem is about and trying to create the platform where we can raise alarms whenever we see some of these violations as tenants and even as landlords. For example, if there's a big building coming up at the wrong site, we should be able to report that to the relevant authorities before even the construction begins. And then we will, in our house, we will have engineers. We will be, when I say we will, means we're in the process of restructuring to accommodate all these facets. Engineers who will now provide proper engineering solutions. And we need to have listened to the lightest joke, which was cracked by Waititu. People took it slightly when he said we should create pathways for water, waterways. But you have to look at countries that do that and don't even experience flooding at all and realize that that's what we need to do for Nairobi, to create very good waterways, retention ponds, flood barriers, and to integrate all those into the new developments first, make sure the new developments don't come up without regulations, and also make sure that those that are old can be retrofitted, corrected, so to fit that. You can see how they're clearing up the riparian areas in the informal sector, pushing people away. That should have been stopped before it happened. So it's always about mitigation. So we also are going to be advocating a lot for green infrastructure, which is quite wide as well. You know, you're talking from construction materials to the type of the infrastructure that can assist to ensure that stormwater does not accumulate, but it keeps running into the channels that must be created. Next slide, please. Just keep going. So the other role of the developers, or our role, will also be to ensure that building designs are always updated, especially how we do it now. We are addressing it from a very formal point, but we also have a bigger challenge in the informal sector. How do we mitigate the informal sector, which has been badly hit? There is also a way, even in the informal sector, we can try to ensure that they use flood-resistant materials so that they don't get easily washed away. And most important, community engagement. Because if you don't engage them in advance, then you have this problem. We have a very big rural to urban migration, which will not be controlled in the near future. But if we work smart, we should be able to mitigate. So our role will be to ensure that when people are choosing areas to live, whether it's formal or informal, they look at what they're going to live in. It's a building design, education, and awareness. We need to really information so that they're always. Regulatory compliance has been a big issue, like I said, and that will be one of our bigger platforms. In this case, we're going to have, including lawyers whom we've already streamed by both tenants and landlords. In this country, you'll agree with me that most tenants don't even have contractual agreements. So what that means is that when a situation occurs, a landlord can quickly run away and even say they don't know you. So part of the disaster is what you lose. It's not always just about being hit by some water. So the next one would be how to mitigate floods from the aspect of planners and authorities. Again, one of the bigger problems, as we all know, is corruption in this country and the shortcuts that people want to take. So we have to find a way of stopping the deliberate and haphazard developments so that we allow proper planning to go on. And it's unfortunate that even those that are encroaching have to be brought down, but that is not to be compromised, because the equivalent of that is to allow people to be caught in death traps. Building regulations exist. We will be making sure this platform is very robust so that where you find building regulations are being violated, we can report. So we don't just report, but we also move in to ensure a solution is provided. The bigger issues about land use planning, those are the big issues that go just beyond even urban centers, but we need to integrate the entire planning so that we don't start constructing estates on the the wetlands and or downstream sites where they can easily be affected, like what happened in recently in Maimahiu. Infrastructure improvements, those are standard things, but another unique aspect we like to propagate is insurance integration. A lot of people, and you know that insurance is very low coverage in this country. It's estimated that we way below. Yeah, I'll be very generous if I say 10%, but it's very low. But in this particular aspect for emergencies and mitigation, I don't think many people take that seriously. So we have conceptualized an insurance program that we will be going public with, which we hope to integrate in this kind of situations with the other existing covers, of course, to provide insurance to tenants and landlords. Landlords and tenants, they have their own responsibilities. Retrofits for landlords, all buildings need to be upgraded, corrected. Tenants, to be educated on flood preparedness, we need to have a collaborative way of evacuating, you know, like I saw in one of the estates where people were just running left and right. Nobody was able to identify where to go to in the event that they had an emergency. And that can lead to even loss of life. Landlords need to have a very collaborative system with government on infrastructure maintenance, especially. I am a victim where I stay, where our landlord does not do much of maintenance. We are pushing to get the landlord to understand that it's not everywhere else. And then I mentioned insurance, so I will not repeat that. Let's go to the next one. Next slide, please. Hello?
Yes, is that the one or?
Okay. Yeah, that's the one. So
Okay.
community collaboration, just go back one. Community collaboration, basically, we have very good, if you go back one place, we have very good inter-estate or intra-estate relations going on, but we don't seem to utilize those. Go back one place, we don't seem to utilize those very well. So we need to improve on that so that it links up well with community engagement. It's one thing to get it right at the beginning, but it's completely another thing when it comes to emergencies and interventions. You go ahead. Yeah, I think you went too far back. Sorry.
Is that the one?
Yeah, so this one, I've covered this one. So we need to improve on this, and it will go away in helping, especially those, you know, it's only fair that we support each other. So the collaborative spirit has to be worked on. Next slide, please.
So this is on ICT.
How to mitigate using IT. It was IT. You'll see that I've underlined the C. It should always be ICT because the C is about communications. So climate resilience, infrastructure is critical, and integrating this in IT it's inevitable. We must go that way because the whole world is going artificial intelligence or the Internet of Things way. So we must utilize existing technologies. That way, we should be able to analyze a lot of the data that exists and be able to come up with the comprehensive solutions and quick ways of analyzing the same data so that we can understand where the patterns and also read into previous vulnerabilities that can help us work out quickly on mitigations. This year was a special one with a lot of rain, but it should not be an excuse even for areas where it could have been done better. And we're already currently using remote sensing and monitoring tools where we are able to do, you know very well that in fact for these floods, we were warned in good time. The gap between that warning and what happened is what we need to understand, because we needed to have constant reminders and we needed to do better outreach to people, especially to areas that should have been forecasted to be hit. And this was possible if we had utilized the information we have in a better way. Next slide, please.
So that is on part 2 of ICT.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Okay, good. Yeah, so out of all that technology, that's where we have the early warning systems. Again, we have to find a way to share this information in a better way. I mean, if we had the president saying something, it should not end there. It should be felt all the way down. So through our TBL platform and integration of ICT, for example, we'll be giving the platform that can communicate all the way down. It's very well structured to reach the lowest of the low up to the ward level, whether it's urban or rural areas. And then for communication and coordination, of course, again, this will be the best platform because the information access will be quick and easy. So that wraps up the relationship between the TBL, the tenants become landlords, and the technology that we're using. But bottom line is there's so much information, so many applications, so many different technologies. We hope to provide a platform that will be able to centralize this information, where we'll be able to support communities, government, both private and public sector, just to be able to quickly intervene in the event of emergencies like what we've just gone through. I forgot to put our communication information there, the contacts. I'll do that before the session ends. Let's go to the last slide now. Okay. Sustainable practices for a healthier planet and profitable properties. That's what green developments are all about. And in this, we promote fully the use of green technologies because we believe that's the way to go. That's the way the world is going. And without adopting green technologies, we'll be lagging behind, first of all, by using old methodologies, which are costly and not adaptive to climate change and resilience. So that by itself ensures that we need to play our role. Just a minute, I have a challenge just trying to adjust something here. Yeah, so in terms of career benefits for the humanitarian work, it will help a lot of people to advance their skills and requires a lot of skills advancing in various aspects. Because it's a growing market, there's a lot of interest to get a lot of people into the green space. So it's an opportunity by itself. If you stick to the contemporary job, whereas in the green space, there's a lot of demand right now, both in terms of product and
okay, we can still get you.
And personnel. I hope that a career in this field is education of green technology. That's fine. You could practice green at a lot of workshops and try to learn more from other people. Skill development. If you are skilled in this, does not end there. Try to upgrade your skills. Showcase your expertise at opportunity. Try to find opportunities. Don't wait for them to come your way. In this mitigation, like we have the floods now, is an opportunity to innovate and showcase your expertise. Stay informed. The world is moving very fast. There's a lot of information. Read a lot. Go to the internet and read a lot as well. And sometimes it's good to specialize. Don't be too wide. Adaptability and flexibility simply means also don't be too rigid. If you go to some place and you find an electrical problem, try to adopt to be able to assist. Just switching off power could assist mitigate a problem if there's a there's a flood or something like that. And flexibility means accept just to go into scenarios because this is not meant for anybody in particular, but it's a skill we need to all have. And develop yourself professionally at certain levels. If you're in management or in financial aspects, develop yourself so that you are able to be relevant to this. And it's a very tough journey. So it calls for a lot of persistence and patience. It's not as if those who are looking to make money from this, is not a quick win. Current initiatives, we are working with all these people. I've not mentioned them here, but there's green building certification going on. There is a Kenya Green Builders Society. They are doing certification, so one can get that. There's a lot of activity in renewable energy integration, so that if you have been permanently on electricity, you could now adopt to other optional ways. There's waste management solutions, a lot of projects going on. All these are initiatives and opportunities. Biodiversity conservation, sustainable transport infrastructure is being adopted. When you see the walkways in town, the cycle paths, all those are sustainable transport infrastructure adaptability. Then you see the green buses now, you see the green taxis, the green border borders, all those are adaptations. Capacity building and awareness, a lot of opportunities are there to do that. Those who wish to interact with that space as well, we will be able to open that for many people to participate. Before the end of this, I will share our contacts. I remember that I can see that those are missing. Otherwise, my presentation ends there. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Vance. Yeah, at the end of the slide also, we do have the contacts for each participating organization. So absolutely reach out to Vance whenever you need any services from TBL or IT Locate. And thank you so much for gracing us with your knowledge today. So we are going to the next speaker now. And this would be Grace Kimaru. But I think there are different slides. So Fiona, maybe you can share the slides. Okay, Grace, go ahead.
Thank you so much. So my name is Grace Kimaru. I'm a citizen climate change advocate, and I'm going to share my perspective as an urban planner in Kenya. And of course, we could be asking ourselves, what is happening to our drainage systems in urban areas? Why are we experiencing floods? And what is the current how are our current urban systems in our cities and urban areas? Next slide. So it's important to note that our drainage systems in most of our cities and urban areas were designed based on the current urban settlement at that time, and of course the rainfall patterns that were happening at that time. And as we know, because of climate change, we've had a change in the rainfall patterns because of urbanization and climate change. And so that means the urban hydrological process has also changed. And because most urban areas have converted natural cover to grey infrastructure. Grey infrastructure is where we have construction of buildings, or where we have impervious surface areas. And of course, the change in rainfall intensity, this has also caused worsening of flooding in our cities and towns, and it has increased the risk of flooding in our cities and towns. And this problem is mostly seen in developing countries, because most of the countries are taking development very seriously, and we've seen a lot of urbanization. And so that means there is also a change in how our drainage systems in urban areas are continuously designed. And actually, most of the analysis of the hydrologic or hydraulic conditions of a specific areas, they are being designed correctly without a detailed analysis of what's going on. And the rapid changes in land use have resulted to conversion of natural surface area into residential areas, where we expect the natural surface area to help us or to aid in drainage systems in the urban areas. But the natural surface areas have been converted to residential areas, or a lot of development has happened. We have roads, we have a lot of apartments in our cities and areas, and this has also increased a lot of impervious surface areas. And this has created a significant impact on the urban areas, and has also caused a variation in the urban water cycles, because if we expect water to be drained through natural surface area, it's not happening. This is because we have a lot of built-up areas, of which these areas that are set aside for conservation or that are set aside to help us in drainage systems have been converted to green infrastructure or built environment. Next slide. So when we have floods in urban areas, how are we supposed to manage these floods? There are two ways. We have structural and non-structural strategies. Structural strategies are mostly practical from developers' perspective, or the architects, the engineers, or the urban planners' perspective, where we need to build facilities such as flood embankments or retaining walls. These are more like dams, but they are smaller than dams. Actually, flood embankments and retaining walls are around 1 meter to 3 meters high. This could come in handy in managing floods in cities and urban areas. Also, building facilities and setting aside storage ponds or areas such as urban parks, where we could direct flood waters or surface runoff water into storage ponds, as well as designing interconnected designated flow paths over the urban surface. We could construct certain pipelines or certain drainage systems, major drainage systems in our urban areas and cities, where the urban floods would follow a certain rule or a certain floodways. And usually this should be along the roads and between certain structures, where we follow the natural ground photography. But this is mostly for the engineers and the urban planners, as well as the architects. That's why I'm saying it's both structural and non-structural ways. Next slide for the non-structural strategies that could be implemented in our urban areas. For the non-structural measures, there is the use of legislation to enforce planning criteria. In Kenya, the legislation is actually there. Actually, each county has land use plans that shows different areas or where construction should take place, or a certain area should not be constructed. But enforcing this legislation, that's where the problem comes in. And if the government puts more muscle in enforcing the planning in Kenya, legislation could actually come in handy as an unstructural measure in curbing flooding. And of course, the changing in land use, where you get that most natural floodplain areas that are known that they will be flooded. Investors want to build there. Investors want to develop there, and they already know that that area has been set aside for conservation or has been set aside as a floodplain. So you get that most of these investors are developing there. But if we get to follow instructions and to follow the land use plans that are in our counties and in our smaller towns, then it is a great non-structural measures when it comes to property development. And of course, introducing flood insurance schemes. This is something that we've not implemented as a country. I feel like when we come up with flood insurance schemes, for instance, the people who have been really affected by floods, the recent floods, if we had insurance schemes, they would not have lost everything. But then we don't have insurance schemes. Our government have not put in place insurance schemes. So if our national economy permits that we put in place flood insurance schemes, it is also one of the best non-structural measures that we could take as a country. And of course, producing real-time forecasting and warning systems. I feel like our country does not take the meteorological department serious, because they've been telling us there will be drought, they've been telling us that there will be floods, they've been producing actually warning systems, but we don't take it seriously. We just wait for the disasters to hit us. If we take such departments seriously, streamline the resources there, and actually support such departments and take real-time forecasting and warning systems seriously, then I think that this is one of the measures that could help us prepare for such such scenarios such as flooding and also drought. But in this case, because we had recent flooding, real-time forecasting would have helped us prepare for this. So how do we prepare, or what are the solutions as common wananchi? What solutions or what feasible sustainable solutions can we implement as common wananchi? Staying informed about local weather forecasts, of course, is very critical in being prepared. If most people knew, and if most people took it seriously, and if the government could really come in handy beforehand, I'm sure we could have prevented whatever we are seeing right now. So staying informed as citizens about local weather forecasts and flood warnings is very vital. Another thing is taking preventive action, such as proper waste disposal, because most of the waste in our cities and urban areas are clogging our drainage systems. That's why we find most of our drainage systems are clogged, and that's why we have the flooding scenarios being one of the reasons. It's not the main reason, but it's one of the reasons. If, as common wananchis or as common citizens, we could take it as an initiative to dispose our waste properly, then it is a sustainable solution. Number 3, adopting sustainable practices such as rainwater harvesting. I'm actually asking myself, we've had very heavy rain. How many developers or how many landlords have taken the initiative to harvest this water, both in the rural areas and urban areas? We are going to get drought probably soon. And then we come back crying that we don't have water, but then we had rain. So sustainable practices such as rainwater harvesting to reduce runoff, and also for sustainability as common wananchi, we should take that seriously. And what we are doing now, advocacy, advocating for infrastructure improvement. I've seen the former presenter talking about green infrastructure. We could have buildings, retention ponds, and of course green spaces to absorb excess water. It's common wananchi we could advocate, because we might not be in a position to develop such infrastructure, but advocacy is really important. So when it comes to green infrastructure, this is probably a collaboration between the government and developers, and of course the experts in this field. That is the integration of blue and green urban spaces in our urban areas, and this will help us in sustaining water resources together with maintenance of biodiversity and ecological functions. And of course, vegetated surfaces, integrating green infrastructure such as green corridors, urban parks, and urban gardens. Number 2 is enhancing urban planning, which is really, really important. Urban planning in Kenya, it's taken serious, but not very seriously, because I believe that planning is the foundation of most of the it's the foundation of most of our cities and urban areas, where we should incorporate flood-resistant designs like what China has done. China, they usually have a sponge city because they were suffering from a lot of floods. They came up with a sponge city back in 2013. And so such flood-resistant designs, they could be incorporated even in our cities and towns here in Kenya. And of course, creating floodplains maps showing the areas prone to flooding, where development should not be taking place, restricting construction in high-risk areas, and of course, prioritizing innovation, resilience, and community engagement, which is very, very vital. And of course, collaboration. When it comes to planning, collaboration is key. Collaboration among local governments, urban planners, engineers, and community stakeholders, so that we are able to know what are we planning for, where are we planning for, and what are the impacts of this planning that is going to take place. And this planning bring positive impacts or negative impact to our people. So collaboration between all these entities is very important when it comes to management of floods or these scenarios that we are getting. So thank you very much. Back to you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Grace. That was very informative. And yeah, so now we're going to go to our next speaker. This is Beatrice. So Fiona, you can share the slides.
Thank you, Fiona. Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Beatrice Wambui, and I work with Kenya Water Ambassadors as a coordinator. And today, I'll be taking you through a presentation on early warning system. So we're going to begin on identifying exactly why do we talk about early warning system. Why is it important that communities, private sectors, CSOs, government, and all key stakeholders understand why they should be able to have early warning system in place. So basically, these are models that are designed to detect. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So early warning systems are models that are designed to be able to detect and provide timely information about impending hazards or disasters, to be able to allow individuals and communities as well as other authorities to be able to take appropriate actions and to reduce the risk and mitigate the impact as well. So early warning system basically has 4 components that are crucial in identifying disaster risk reduction measures. So we are going to look at the first one, which is risk knowledge. So why do we talk about risk, and why is it important that communities understand the hazard that might interact with their vulnerabilities to be able to cause a disaster? So this involves assessing the potential floods, or rather flood-prone areas, and map out those vulnerable communities as well. When I'm talking about vulnerable communities, I'm talking about those groups that are vulnerable to disasters. We have girls, we have women, we have PWDs, and also map out infrastructure as well. For example, doing the system that are not resilient enough to be able to respond to disasters, and also ecosystems that are vulnerable to these disasters. For example, riparian ecosystem. So our next component will be monitoring and warning system. Monitoring and warning forecasting system. So basically, this is a very technical bit, and I wish we had a representative from KMD who could have been able to give insight on that. But basically, it involves the use of weather forecasting models and technologies that can be able to predict heavy rainfall and even other disasters such as drought, which are very common in Kenya, and also to be able to predict the flash floods that we have, which I honestly don't think we have effective early warning system as a country as per now, and also the fluvial floods that we have experienced. The fluvial floods are basically occurs when the waterways and rivers breaks their beds and overflows towards the low-lying areas. So, for example, the low-lying areas are like Kibera, are the places that have been submerged by water recently. So, yeah, then we have the third component, which is dissemination and communication. So this basically involves disseminating a clear message to these communities. They understand this message about how they should be able to respond to disasters in a way that it's clear, it's timely, and it's accurate. And also, these communities should have this information in their local dialect. For example, in Murang'a County, we have a radio station whereby communities are being given this information about impending disasters, for example, floods or even landslides. So basically, this helps these communities understand what are some of the plans, or rather contingency plans and response measures that should be able to take to be able to avert the disasters that are incoming. The other component is response capability. So basically, this ensures that communities understand the risk and also educate them on how to respond to such disasters. For example, we have drills. The Kenya Red Cross normally have drills, disaster simulations in various places. So this helps communities to be able to understand how to respond to disasters through skills, practical skills, to be able to reduce disasters, or rather negative impact of floods, for example, whatever we're experiencing now as a country. Next slide, please. And so what causes flash floods? So allow me to take you back to December, where we experienced an intense short rain season, which was it was intensified by the El Nino phenomenon, or rather the weather, the climate change which intensified El Nino, and because of that, the short rain season became, intense, and the same persisted all the way to January this year, and we also got the same information from KMD that the El Nino signal remains strong, and that's why we've seen it's affecting the subsequent the long rain season, which is called MAM, the March to May rainfall season. So basically, that prolonged and intensified rainfall overwhelmed our country's drainage system. I believe we've all experienced what has happened to our country. We've lost lives, destruction of livelihoods, and also the displacement of vulnerable communities, as well as how floods has affected those vulnerable communities like Madare, Kibera, and even my Mahi residents. We have seen how they have lost so many lives. The death toll has increased on a weekly basis. But we are hoping that as a country moving forward, we are going to have measures that actually works for the communities, and early warning systems that are actually people-centered. Next slide, please. Some of the information that you can get from KMD to be able to help. Previous slide, please.
Sorry.
Yeah, okay. So we have the rainfall alerts. So the department issues alerts and warning about the expected heavy rainfall events that could lead to flash floods. Again, I don't think it was that effective, since we lost quite a number of people and also destroyed quite a number of livelihoods in Kibera, for example, and also my Mahiu places, resident, I mean, sorry. So such like having maps, the one that KMD normally disseminate, they indicate the intensity, also duration and location of expected rainfall. So such information can be able to help you to take measures to be able to reduce any negative impact that may arise from these disasters. Next slide. So what are the first point of emergency contact with the church when you realize that you're facing a disaster? Most of the time when a disaster strike, you may panic, or even, I don't know what you may do, but most of the time people panic. But it's important that you have such contacts with you, because you never know when a disaster.
Beatrice, are you there?
Okay, maybe we just wait for her for a minute or two.
In Shark Tank. So you've done a good job pitching.
Perhaps we could move to questions and answers as we wait for Beatrice. So if you have any questions for the previous speakers as we wait for Beatrice, it would be appreciated.
Okay, great. So there was this question that I saw in the chat messages. We did receive a couple of questions prior to the webinar. We will try as much as possible to address, but they're all over 55. But then just a quick question here from the chat messages from Vance. He asked, do you have any example of the IoT plays? And this was during the presentation by Vance. So IoT meaning Internet of Things. Anyone who might have an answer to that? I presume it's IoT in regards to mitigating the floods or just generally addressing the climate change mitigation techniques. Or maybe Evans, you could just, clarify more. But anyone with an answer can bring it up.
Hello.
Oh, Beatrice, you're back, yeah?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Okay, go ahead. Okay, go ahead, Beatrice, but you're muted.
Hello.
Yes, now we can
I'm
hear you.
very sorry for that.
No worries.
My wife. Okay. So
Go
moving
ahead.
on to our next slide.
Okay.
Okay. Now what do you do now in terms of responding to disasters? Again, remember there are 4 cycles of disasters, disaster management cycle. The first one is mitigation. The second, we have the mitigation and prevention from a point of reducing the impact of negative impact of disasters. And then we have preparedness. This is where like you come in with the evacuation routes, the preparedness plans, the contingency plans, and all that. And then we have the response stage. This is now when you implement those preparedness measures that you actually took, or rather you learned from during the stage of preparedness. So that stage is very crucial. Otherwise, if we're not keen on that, responding to disasters is very tricky. So what do you do when a disaster strike? So, and for this tailored webinar, we are talking about flash floods. So immediately evacuate to safe areas, precisely a very high ground, to be able to avoid being swept away by floods. And also remember, a height of a 6 inch of a moving water, flash floods for that matter, could knock you down and probably we probably drown, and chances of surviving are very low. And then do not drive over a bridge that is flooded. I'm not sure how effective this is, because we are living in Kenya. We have very funny individuals. You see them driving along very flooded bridges, are very susceptible to collapsing. So we need to be very keen on that. And then we are in flooded area, for example, you're on the move, that's a very high ground. Use a stick or something that can be able to attest the depth of that water. And then we have emergency supplies. Have the emergency supplies close to you. These are like food, water, as well as medical supplies are very important. You might get injured during disasters. And then, can you hear me? I hope I'm very audible enough.
Yes, you are.
Okay. So what not to do? So don't drive through floodwaters. Again, I said the opposite of it previously. So avoid driving through flooded roads, as it's difficult to gauge the depth of the current stream. And then we don't walk through floodwaters. Similarly, avoid walking through floodwaters, as they can be swept, and it can be swept and carried away by debris. And then also switch off the electrical equipments that are in your building. Please avoid being electrocuted, and also avoid like standing in water whereas the equipment are still the electrical equipment are still on. So where to seek food and shelter? I believe Zenet gave a very good presentation on how basically to Red Cross have been doing, and other organizations, to be able to provide food and shelter. So we have emergency shelters. These are like places like camps and safe grounds that have been set up by humanitarian organizations. We have community centers. So, for example, during floods, we had one called Sai Center, which was a setup in the places that was affected by floods. However, be on the lookout to ensure that the place that you're going is safe and is actually designated a shelter from the designated authorities. Of course, we have the government assistance program. Right now, the one that is available, I think we have the National Flood Response. by World Vision to be able to help those affected by floods. Next slide, please. So what ways can you be able to provide disaster relief services to these people? One common way is to be able to stay informed. Staying informed is very essential. Why? Because you want to help these communities, so you have to be able to be up to date to the reliable information from a very trusted source. For example, we have Red Cross, we have the Kenya Meteorological Departments and other agencies. Also, we can also reach out to local organizations. We have the networking with the Red Cross, which is a very good thing and a noble initiative. So identify the Red Cross that is near you, visit them and identify how can you be able to be part of them and help in disaster response as well as recovery. We have also providing shelters. You as a person, how can you be able to provide shelter? Maybe you're blessed enough to have a few rooms in your house. You can give a few individuals a place to sleep for a while as they figure out what to do next. And then we have creating fundraising initiatives. We have seen how people are coming up with till numbers to be able to fundraise and buy like the food, shelter, water, clothing, and the medical supplies for these people who are affected by floods. Next slide. So participation opportunities. As a career person who is looking forward to joining the disaster risk management, rather the DRR career point of view. Again, I think I did go through all these stages earlier. So within those stages, you can be able to identify how can you be able to come up with solutions that are long-term, solutions that are people-centered, solutions that are working beyond the response stage, beyond the recovery stage, and beyond the fact that these strategies should be able to sort of prevent second disasters from happening. By second disaster from happening, I mean, what we have been able to experience as a country is flood. So the next time we probably have drought. So how can we come up with such solutions to be able to help these communities be resilient? You know, like I said, communities are the first responders to these disasters. You and I, we are communities. So how do we ensure that we are resilient in future? And also looking forward to how can we create sustainable, infrastructure such as drainage systems and all that. So yeah, thank you so much. I really didn't put my contact. However, I think our host can be able to share that with us after my slides. So thank you so much for listening to me. And also, I'm very sorry for the technical hitch, but I loved all the presentations. And yeah, thank you for your time.
Well, thank you so much, Beatrice. That was very lovely and informative. We really appreciate you taking your time and sharing the knowledge for sure. And no worries about the Wi-Fi. This technical stuff happen every time. So I'm just going to quickly share the remaining slide. I think you can all see. So we're going to now the Q&A section because I've seen a couple of people also post some questions on the chat box, and feel free, anyone can ask a question and you can also answer depending on your knowledge. This is a knowledge-based information session, so let's go. The first question that we have from the chat box, I think Fiona, you can go ahead.
All right, so I'm gonna take you through the Q&A. Because of time, we might need to rush this. So the speaker that feels comfortable to answer this, the platform is yours. So do you think the general public has been prepared enough on what to do during disasters, and what can be done to improve in that respect, especially rural areas where information takes longer to penetrate?
Hi guys. Zenet here. I think the general public is not prepared enough. But I think what we can do to improve in that respect is empower community leaders like chiefs, elders, religious figures, nyumba kumi, because such people have access to everyone, especially even those ones who are not on social media and don't have access to technology. And then we can also form local disaster response team. I feel like the same strategy that is being used in the slum area can also be replicated in the rural areas. That's my take. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Zenet. We have Robert, who's a reporter from Kisumu, and he would like to ask how communities affected by the Lake Victoria backflow can mitigate in terms of housing in response to the displacement caused by the floods. What can these communities do in terms of their shelter to alleviate the sufferings from floods? Vance, would you like to pick on that?
I will make an attempt on that. I think it's a big question. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, so if you see the situation there, you have to be on the ground to know what it means. First of all the river inlets have a lot of silting, which is causing a lot of backflows. Now, the lowlands are taking in this water and they can't take anymore. So first mitigation is, of course, to move people away. But with that size of population, where do you move them? You cannot move all of them forever. So we will have, the government has to find ways, and the partners, the development partners or mitigating partners, to find a way of desilting the entry points first, so that water flows into the lake freely. Creation of dams upstream. They've talked about quite a number of dams that are supposed to come up. These are more permanent solutions to the challenges we have. And in future, going ahead, to try and help those people self-regulate on how they build their homes. They should try to raise their floors, because most of them are built on the normal ground, and when the water comes, it just flows in very easily. So there should be ways of elevating this through all these mitigations. Unfortunately, we are in the problem right now. The only solution is to move them temporarily until the water recedes. However, going forward, this needs to be adopted very quickly.
Thank you so much. Apart from eviction, what is the long-term measures to be taken for people living near dams, riverbanks, and shorelines? Grace, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I believe that areas that are near dams, riverbanks, and shore areas, they are categorized under conservation in most of the land use plans, and I don't think there should be any development allowed around those areas. And so the long-term measure, I think, is to enforce the development legislations that are there. Get people not build near the dams and riverbanks and shorelines, because those are areas that are prone to flooding. So I believe enforcement of such legislation would be a long-term measure to avoid people building near those areas. Yeah.
Thank you so much. What are the available opportunities? Sorry about that. What are the available opportunities for young people to support in the work of being carried out on flood mitigation? Beatrice, are you there?
Yes, Fiona, I am. Thank you for the question. So I believe our young people can be able to effectively help carry out mitigation strategies and measures. But first, you have to be able to map out organizations that resonate with that specifically. So when you talk about supporting in the work, you mean like volunteering, But so such organizations are like Red Cross. However, I feel that there are more organizations out there that are doing a good job. So research on them, map out the one that actually resonates with you, and understand how you can be able to support their work of flood mitigation.
Thank you so much. I believe that because of time and we need to close in the next 5 minutes, maybe we can, because the webinar is being streamed on YouTube and you can easily find the video on YouTube live at Stan Media Foundation. We can head over to the comment sections and engage the Q&A on the comment section and being able to interact with each other. So this is a list of the participating organizations that did make this webinar possible, and I will let Madam Becky to lead on that side.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Fiona. So a big thank you to all the speakers today who represent all these organizations. Apart from Minister of Agriculture, I'm going to correct that. And this will be for the Kenya Waters. She's a representative there for Beatrice. But otherwise, we are going to make these slides available on our Google Drive link, which we are going to share, so that the purpose of Stan Media Foundation is to share more information when it comes to climate change mitigation techniques, as well as to empower young people who want to get into various career fields in the climate change sector. So feel free to reach out to us. We're going to share the link to access this presentation, so you can have all the information, and also feel free to reach out to the speakers on their shared contact details that we're also going to put here. And yeah, otherwise, if you have any questions, you can always reach out to us, and hopefully we'll see you next time. And thank you so much for joining. Yeah. So Fiona, that's all from me. I don't know if you have any closing remarks.
Okay, thank you so much for honoring our invite once again. Probably you can close down the presentation and let everyone take someone take a screenshot so we can post this on social media. Don't forget to follow our pages on YouTube at Stan Media, on Instagram and Facebook.
Okay.
So if you consent to you opening up your camera, that's okay. But if not, we're just gonna take a screenshot of this. Thank you so much.
Okay, cool.
Okay, ready in 3,
2, go.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matioli, for the smiles.
Yeah.
Matioli suggesting that we organize collaboration with community radio stations. They're more effective. Thank you. We will put that into consideration. In case you have any more questions, please don't forget to reach out. Yes, thank you so much. Now we can
Thank you.
enjoy the rest of your evening.
Take care then. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.